Hello everybody, back with another recording of a aim training video. This is the second week of my advanced beginner click timing training, and pretty much did the same thing except for the two scenarios that I have boxed in red. I switched those in for the main scenarios on their left. So let's get right into it. Alright, so starting off with our first scenario that we swapped in, one wall, 9,000 targets. We are going to talk about the purpose of this scenario and why I used this instead of the one wall, 6 targets TE this time. And the reason for that is I felt a little plateaued on one wall, 6 targets TE, and one wall, 9,000 targets is a good one for practicing small micro adjustments, as well as trying to hit these clusters that sometimes show up in one wall, 6 targets TE. So it's good practice for both of those. And also good practice with the micro adjustments for working on your fingers and your wrist movements. This is the first time I have done one wall 9,000 targets, and as a result, I did set a high score this week. So let's move on to the graph and see what the averages look like. Alright, so here is the average graph. Looks like I started off pretty strong, had a really good day 2, and then kind of bottomed out a little bit through the middle days, and then kind of came back on the last day with an average of 208. Alright, so moving on to one wall, 6 targets small. The purpose of this challenge is precision, speed, accuracy, all of those good things. A little bit of target switching, trying to get those smooth lines going from dot to dot. This is not the first time I've done this challenge. In fact, I did this challenge in my last week's video, and I've also done this challenge a couple times before. It's a super popular challenge. Pretty much everyone's done it. Did I set a high score for this week? I did not. I got very close. My previous high score, I believe, was 913. And spoilers, in this clip, I got 906. Experimented with a couple different things this week. I did do the slow first 5 runs where I tried to draw straight lines from dot to dot. And then the last 5 runs tried to go super sicko speed mode. And here it is, 906. Let's move on to the graph. Alright, so as you can see, pretty much in the high 600s for most of the averages, with a terrible day 3 of 602. No idea what happened that day. However, you will notice that the averages are like high 600s, but my high score was 906. That is because the first 5 runs I'm going slow. So all those scores are super bad. And then the second half, my scores are all way higher when I'm going way faster. Moving on to LG Pin Practice 360. Would it even be an aim training video without LG Pin Practice 360? The answer is yes, and you'll see that video next week. So, what is the purpose of LG Pin Practice 360? For me, working a lot on my horizontal / upward and diagonal tracking, as well as a little bit of target switching. I played around this week with trying to snap as fast as possible to targets, and I also did play with audio so I could know where they were spawning and see if I could get there as fast as possible. I don't know how much of that is in this actual clip, but something I did play around with. Is this the first time I've done this challenge? No, it is not. I've done this challenge last week in last video, and I've done this challenge before as well. And did I set a high score this week? Yes, I did. And we'll see that right now. Look at that. 99.1 percentile. You can't beat it. Alright, let's take a look at this graph. We're looking at low 3000s most of the time. Terrible day 4, terrible day 7. I would say low 3000s is pretty accurate. I'm pretty sure almost every one of my runs the whole week was like right around 3000 or above. So let's move on. On to Tile Frenzy 180 Strafing. What is the purpose of Tile Frenzy 180 Strafing? A lot of target switching, a little bit of clicking with some timing on moving targets. It's also nice for looking ahead onto where you're going to be moving next while things are moving. So you could think of like you're going to shoot one enemy that is moving back and forth, and as soon as that's done, you have to jump to the next target. Is this the first time I've done Tile Frenzy 180? No. Tile Frenzy 180 was also one that I did in the last video, and that last week actually was the first time I did Tile Frenzy 180 strafing. And did I set a high score this week? I did set a high score. We're going to see that shortly. I think the biggest focus for me was going as fast as possible. It seems pretty easy to hit high accuracy on these big targets, so just, yeah, going fast. And there's the high score. All right, looking at the graph, we're missing day 1, but I consulted the experts and they said it was 131. So day 1 had the highest average, and then stuck with like the mid to high 120s for the rest of them. Fugly XY short strafes. This was an interesting one. I'd say the purpose of this is practicing your X and Y short strafes. But for real, I think my big focus on this one this week was trusting the direction that the bot is going. So if it's strafing left, you go left until it changes, and then you could see me like snapping back onto the target as fast as possible. A lot of like reaction time and those kind of things, you know. And then, was this the first time? Yes, this was the first time I've done this one. I replaced the Rex Strafes Kata with this for this week to mix it up a little bit. And I did set a high score for this one this week. Another focus for me is trying to keep your mouse or cursor crosshair on the edge of the opposite direction that it's traveling, so that when it moves back the other way, it moves across your crosshair and you have more time to react. All right, taking a look at the graph, we actually have one where our first day wasn't the best average. But yeah, day 1, pretty good average, dropped off a little bit, came back at the end, was feeling on top of it. So let's move on. All right, for real this time, would it even be an aim training click timing video if it wasn't including 1 wall, 5 targets, Pasu? The answer is no, it would not. I did Pasu last week. I'm doing Pasu this week. I'm doing Pasu next week. You just can't get away from it. It's just too dang good. So what is the purpose of Pasu? Well, you're hitting a bunch of crazy strafing, bouncing off of each other heads, going all over the place. It's a little bit frustrating, especially if you like start getting a little tilted, start over clicking, and then you're just missing everything, not actually ever readjusting to click on the target. I would say I found my most success when my brain wasn't turned on at all. Whenever my brain was turned on, it was too focused on like high accuracy, and I got too scared to click unless I was like 100% certain I was actually going to click the dot. And this run was one where like my brain was completely turned off, and I finished the run. I hit a high score, and I was just like, what? Like, when did that happen? But yeah, this is not the first time I've done Pasu. Did it last week, and I did set my high score this week, as we will see here shortly, with a high score of 91.5, rounded up to 92. And looking at the graph, this looks like a roller coaster I would ride. Starting off with a nice 72, had a couple 76s in there, but all around just sitting around the 70s mark. I'd say that's pretty accurate for Pasu. You got those very, very average 70s, and then a couple spikes into the 80s and 90s, and a couple drops into the 50s and 60s. Would it even be... Just kidding, I'm not going to do that to you again, but this is Ground Plaza Easy, which is absolutely nothing but easy. What is the purpose of this? I think the purpose of this is making me go insane, and it succeeds every single time. Ground Plaza Easy with all these different fun little strafing, teleporting, fast moving, getting up in your face pillars. Is this the first time that I've done Ground Plaza Easy? I wish, but no, it is not. I've done Ground Plaza Easy the previous week, and I believe I've done it before then as well. Not too sure about that. Did I set a high score this week? I think so. I got 892. Yeah, that's my high score. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. Drives me insane every time, and definitely one where I always feel the least improvement. So let's let it roll. And the most boring graph award goes to, drumroll please, Ground Plaza Easy. Here it is. Right down the middle. I did one run every day, so that's also the same score I got every day.